Hello and welcome to Messing About Models with me, John. Today I'm going to show you how to build a Dapol 16-ton steel mineral wagon. Following a poll earlier this week on my channel, the kit that was chosen by popular acclaim was the Dapol 16-ton mineral wagon. But don't worry, I'll also be doing the Dapol tank wagon as well. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you subscribe. Hit the button down there. The Dapol kit dates back to the early 1960s when it was sold by Airfix. I think it was for the price of £2 but that was before my time. Today, you can normally pick them up for around £6 or £7. And they're an ideal kit to get started with, and especially if you're new to kit building. They're fairly cheap and they've got transfers, wheels and couplings all included. All you need to add is paint and glue. Let's go over to the workbench and see how it turns out. And here we've got the packaging it arrives in. You've got everything that you need in there. All I'm going to use is my trusty craft knife and my usual plastic magic glue. Set of comprehensive instructions with a nice exploded diagram from Dapol there, listing all the bits. You get everything you need in the thing. You get a set of transfers, although obviously if you're building more than one kit you may want to use alternative transfers so that you have different numbers, although I know some people just put the same numbers on all of their wagons. And the mouldings are pretty good despite being 60 years old. You get a set of metal wheels, which is excellent. And you even get a set of couplings, tension lock couplings. The original kit in the 60s had plastic wheels and Airfix's own style of coupling. So if we look at the mouldings, you get a moulded coal load as well, which we will be detailing up. And there's only a little bit of flash on some of these sprues, which is not bad considering the age of the tools and what they must be. We're going to start off with the chassis and fitting the brake shoes to the chassis and the underfloor. So there's a little slot in the crossbars on the chassis floor there, and I'm just going to run a little bit of glue through that, a little bit of solvent through there, and then I'm putting the brake shoes in place. The trick is to make sure you've got them facing the right way, because there is a sort of a flat side and an outside where there's a bit of sort of relief and so on. It's quite easy to put them in the wrong way round. They clip in fairly tightly. Another dab of solvent. Make sure they're all nice and square. And then it's moving on to the sole bars. And these fit directly outside the cross members on the chassis floor. If you're a regular viewer, please don't forget to smash that like button down there. And also, if you're not a regular viewer, hit the subscribe button that's down in this corner here. So it's just a case of fitting the sole bar in, making sure it clips in nicely. It's flush against all the cross members. Another dab of solvent, and then onto the buffer beams. Again, these have an outside and an inside. The inside includes a little sort of recess to accommodate the sole bars. So you just need to make sure you get that the right way round. And again, that's almost a clip fit, and you just need a dab of solvent to keep things in place. Next, move on to the brake levers, and this is where I came across a problem. So it was actually very complicated to fit the brake levers with the brake shoes in place. As you can see, one part of them had to go in between the brake shoes and the sole bar. So I ended up having to remove the brake shoes and then fitting the brake levers and then refitting the brake. Then onto the buffers. Now you could use cast buffers if you were to upgrade the kit, and they'd probably be finer and stronger. The only thing to note with these buffers is that there are 4 ribs on them, and the short rib is the one that needs to be uppermost. Although, to be honest, I can't, at normal viewing distance, I can't tell. Again, these are just a push fit, but a dab of glue in behind each one, just make sure it stays in place. And there's the chassis, all complete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this paint. This is a Roots Paint Dirty Black. I got this from their eBay store. Quite handy. Same range of colours as Humbrol and a bit cheaper as well. So I'm going to paint the chassis in this dirty black, which is sort of obviously a blacky grey. Just making sure that everywhere is covered, all the various nooks and crannies. I suppose one option would have been to paint the chassis parts before assembling them, but this seems to work just as well. As long as everywhere is coated and we've not got any grey plastic visible. Then moving on to the body and the sides. You'll notice there's a little lip on one edge of each of the sides, and that is the bit which fits to the floor, and so you need to make sure that those are the same way all the way around. And this is where a set of grid on your cutting mat comes in handy, because it allows you to make sure that everything's at a right angle. I've done these in 2 halves like that, a little tip I heard years ago, and that should make it a lot easier for when it comes together. Now, the original kit had opening doors, and the hinges were correspondingly quite large. You could replace the hinges, but I'm going to keep them. I'm just going to cement the doors in place. I'm not going to have them opening. Then just a dab of glue to join the 2 halves together. And again checking it with the grid pattern on the cutting mat. Once we've left that to set, body's all nice and fine, it's time to start painting it. I've got my Rail Match Early Freight Grey. To be honest, any sort of mid to light grey would probably work. I know some people even don't bother painting the bodies at all. The grey plastic is fine for their use. So just sort of coating the body with this, making sure the inside as well as the outside is covered. Don't forget to click in the corner to subscribe, especially if you want to see the video of the Dapol SO tanker being built. trying to make sure that it's fairly thin coat so you're not obscuring any of the details, especially around the doors. So after this first coat's dried, I'm going to leave it for a second coat. So leave it to dry and then apply another thin second coat just to make sure that we get a really nice finish to the body. Now for the coal load, I'm going to use this Hatton's plastic coal. Just going to cover the coal load in some white PVA glue. Plenty of it all over there, probably too much really. Then I'm just going to press it in. Now these kits being plastic, are not necessarily as heavy as they could be, and so I'm going to add some additional weight into the kit to weigh down the wagon and make it easier to shunt. And these are car wheel balancing weights that I've got from eBay, and I'll just put them over the axles on the floor. The body just clips on, as you can see here, and this is how it looks after it's had its second coat. And I think you'll agree that's looking pretty good. Now here are the transfers that are included. You could use your own transfers, but I'm just going to use the ones that came with the wagon for this one. The white diagonal line is used for the identifying the end doors which turn, so they need to be pointing at that end on each side. So I'm just using a sharp screwdriver here just to slide off the transfer, just easing it gently after soaking it in water, using the screwdriver to just sort of gently tease it into the right place, then using a cotton wool bud just to mop up the excess water, drying out the transfer in place. There's the wagon number, and then obviously repeating on the other side. Here are the wheels. Some people will weather the wagon wheels, maybe spray them or paint them. I'm not going to bother. They just fit into between the sole bars. No need for any bearings or anything. Just need to ease the sole bars apart and pop them in and make sure the wheels are running freely. And here's the wagon with the couplings attached. As you can see, that's looking pretty good. I think that's certainly every bit as good as a wagon that you might pay £20 for or more. Here's the coal load that we've done earlier, and here it is sitting on the layout. I think that looks excellent wagon. Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and comment below. Check out the video on screen if you want to weather your wagon, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.